very much. It's such a treat to be here. It's always intimidating for an East Coaster to come to the West Coast and try to talk to people out here about renewables, and it's 10 times that bad when an East Coaster is trying to talk to Germans and Europeans. I have a slide that underscores that in a minute, but I really want to thank Angelina and Diane for creating this. It's such a great event. This slide here is in the context of what happened in Boston yesterday, and I certainly don't want to make light of anything, but a friend of mine his sister was actually one of the victims in Sandy Hook, and it shocked me to see America's reaction to the mere threat of putting limits on certain types of, not even the whole gun, just a little capacity. So I'm asking everybody in the room to join me. We have to outlaw solar energy. That seems to be the only way we can get Americans to really go out and buy stuff, is with the threat of outlawing it. And as Angelina showed us this morning, even ducks have Second Amendment rights in America. So this is maybe the pathway to get to 100% renewable, is to threaten to take it away from us all. Seriously, my talk is about net zero buildings. It's a deja vu all over again, to quote Yogi Berra. The Carlisle House, which was done by Solar Design Associates, Don Aitken, I met him through Stephen Strong some 15, 20 years ago now. This has been done. The future was 33 years ago, to quote Robert, I think. And this was the first U.S. residence to be powered by a grid-tied PV system, required no fossil fuels. Moving forward, looking at bigger challenges, this is one example with a female architect, Angelina, Chris Benedict and Henry Gifford. They built this building at zero net additional cost, a zero cost delta from code. It reduces energy consumption by 90%, and they provide an affordable energy guarantee for 99 years. Similarly, the Bluestone organization, a great group, has been building affordable housing in the city for years and years, New York City. This particular building, heating cost per apartment of $200 per year. I know that's not a challenge in California, but in New York, that's a huge thing. It's also got a 50 kW PV system that's going on the roof that my company, Advanced Solar Products, is building. This slide, I wanted to title this slide that the transition to renewable energy is much easier than the transition to PowerPoint presentations, because these modules were actually designed by Theodore Galatev in the back of the room. He's the Chief Technology Officer of New Energy Options. He's been running the PowerPoints here. He really can build a great solar module. This product is the largest UL-listed solar module ever made. It's on the Hemet, a building in Hemet, California, and it's a net zero building, LEED certified. And moving right forward, this is just a couple of weeks ago, Walgreens announced that they're going net zero. So the examples are out there, but I want to take it now to another level. My colleague Lyle Rawlings, who's the CEO of Advanced Energy Products, he started Mid-Atlantic Solar Energy Industries Association. He started to advance this concept of high penetration PV, and I'm now going to call it a net zero electric grid. In large part, the dialogue has ramped up in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. We now have an opportunity to talk about a vision for renewable energy that has been tempered by even Republicans. Chris Christie is famous now for being the Republican who's advocating, even if you don't believe in climate change, we need to prepare for it. So the technical, the business, and the climate preparedness case are how I'm going to wrap up this presentation. When we talk about how do you get solar employed, we've heard a lot about the feed-in tariff. This is a slide that a colleague who many people know, Dr. Richard Perez, put together. It shows just how much energy there is in the sun. It's diffuse, we don't necessarily realize it, but everything on the right are the non-renewable fuel sources. In the upper left-hand corner is how much energy the globe uses in a year. And then in the center there are the renewable energy resources, with obviously the sun being the huge one in the center. Every year we get a new sun, and every year after that, we start to run out of the fossil and the nuclear, and given what's going on with fracking, I think we've got to change some of those non-renewable spheres to clean air. Thank you. This is all Richard Perez's good work here that I'm showing right now, but this is what's happening with global manufacturing of PV. You can see what's happening. China is becoming the clear leader. They're in the red. This is what's happening with global PV installations. This is a breakout by country, and referring to my intimidation and being in front of Californians and Europeans, this is Germany, there's the U.S., there's New York State, where I grew up. I now live in Massachusetts, but we've got our work cut out for us here, and that's how much has resulted from a feed-in tariff in the world. So clearly this is the policy that makes things happen. It's lowered costs. But in my advocacy, I worked with David Hochschild, who was called out a little earlier by the mayor, in New York State 5 years ago, trying to get legislation in New York. Unfortunately, FIT has become a four-letter word in the state houses of America. The reasons that are given is that it will destabilize the grid, it's too expensive. The list goes on and on and on and on. But the Germans have shown us that technically it's not a problem. The vertical bars that you see there are the capacity of various renewable energy generating units in Germany. The bottom horizontal blue line is their base load. The top one is their peak load. Clearly, there's not a technical challenge. The grid hasn't fallen apart there. Same thing goes with forecasting. We now, because renewables are intermittent does not mean they're unpredictable. It's so easy now. We all know it's possible. It's not a technical challenge. So this then brings us to the business case, okay? The technical case is clearly not a challenge. We've eclipsed it. The business case, we've heard this mentioned, and this is part, I'm glad everybody mentioned this. Most of the slides you're seeing are actually repeats of what's already been said. FERC Order 755, without going into details, provides a new revenue stream for fast response renewable energy resources. This is a battery-enabled system that we've installed in New Jersey. PJM is the first grid operator to implement this tariff. We now can use the battery to support the grid, and if the grid ever does go down due to a storm, we can power all these emergency needs. This is one of a number of photos that I didn't put in the presentation, but this is immediately in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. You can see the building in the very center of the picture. It's off the foundation, it's floating down the street, but the solar system is still on the roof. We had a number of systems that were impacted by Hurricane Sandy, but unlike Fukushima and unlike San Bruno, no oil spills, no radiation leaked, and no natural gas explosions. So this is really the technology that we want to have. Another example at Sandy, this is the Bayonne Middletown School. We put a solar system on there that works. It's the first of its kind. Did it with SMA. It took the Germans. That system, when Hurricane Sandy hit, every building was without power and most of the buildings were flooded. This system was able to power the school, and it served as an emergency shelter for 80 people for 4 days. This is a slide about how great Europe is, and it's only for the Americans in the audience. This slide, really, the key point about this slide, again in German, because I wanted to make you feel a little bit at home here, but the lower right-hand graph is the one I want you to focus on. Because there's so much renewable energy feeding the grid, it's affecting the cost of spot market power. We have peak prices that are actually below baseload prices in Germany now. We've now looked at doing studies because Americans are famous for knowing the cost of everything and the value of nothing. This study was done again by Dr. Richard Perez. It shows that the value to the ratepayers for solar is about $300 per megawatt hour. The SRECs in New Jersey are trading for $150. This just goes to the heart of that point. This slide is about how coal, nuclear, and oil are all in trouble for natural gas. The fracking of methane, oil and gas results in fugitive methane that could be larger of a climate impact than coal. And I'm going to just wrap it up. We've done the numbers. We know it can work. And here it is, the business case, the urgency, the technical case. Germany announced their shift. I'll just say this, the CEO of Siemens, Germany's shift towards renewable energy is a project of the century. Where can we find a leader in America to say this? Maybe they need to hear from us. Thank you very much.